Today I will tell you how to become expert in MA63. So based on my experience, I will tell you how exactly I can understand Malaysia Agreement 1963 very fast and detailed. So here I will put in the middle here is MA63. So the first thing that you need to do to understand Malaysia Agreement 1963 is to download this Malaysia Agreement 1963 on the internet. It is available online. So if you read Malaysia Agreement 1963, it is a very comprehensive document. It have 275 pages, 96 sections. It's a very big. So I understand that it's very difficult to understand Malaysia Agreement by itself. So you need to have a frameworks to understand some of the issue in Malaysia Agreement 1963. So you can select certain issue in Malaysia Agreement 1963 or certain topic in Malaysia Agreement 1963 to begin with. You don't need to read all of it, but sufficient over time you will understand. Your knowledge will gain more. So after you read Malaysia Agreement 1963, you must relate it with other documents. Okay, that is the strategy. You must relate to other documents. So how to relate Malaysia Agreement 1963 with other documents? Okay, first we look at the Federal Constitution. Where is the Federal Constitution? Federal Constitution is in front you here. So here is the Federal Constitution. We have Malaysia Federal Constitution. Now, a lot of people think that after you learn Malaysia Agreement 1963, and then you refer to Federal Constitution. But there is another document that you need to look after Malaysia Agreement 1963, which is State Constitution. State Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak. So if you are from Sarawak, you look at the State Constitution of Sarawak. If you are from Sabah, maybe you can look at Sabah Constitution. Sabah Constitution and Sarawak Constitution is mostly about the same because we are former British colonies. So this is the constitution that you need to look at. And another constitution that you need to look at is another one in after Malaysia Agreement 1963 is you need to look at Federation of Malaya Constitution. But this is a bit tricky because I cannot find, and I think a lot of people cannot find the original version of the Malaysia Agreement and Constitution of Federation of Malaya. But you can look at this this Federal Constitution of Malaya inside the Federal Constitution because there is a comment there in the Federal Constitution that tell you which article of the Federal Constitution has changed over time. Now, this is how you can relate some of the information for Malaysia Agreement to the Federal Constitution of Malaysia, and then with the State Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak and the Federation of Malaya Constitution. Now that we have this kind of framework, if you have certain issue in Malaysia to understand in Malaysia Agreement 1963, for example, you want to know about the financial right in Malaysia Agreement 1963, you can refer to financial right in the Federal Constitution. So there is always a relation between all these documents. If you still want to go further, you can look at State Constitution. And then after we go to this document, after Malaysia Agreement 1963, if there is some issue with the Acts of Parliament, after that you look at the Acts of Parliament. If any bill that was passed by the Parliament, we call it Acts of Parliament. There is so many Acts of Parliament that come from the Federal Constitution. For example, Territorial Sea Act 2012 is the act by the Parliament, and we have Continental Shelf Act 1966, so Act of Parliament. We have Interpretation Act 388 is also Act of Parliament. So any issue that you look at the Acts of Parliament, you must relate it back to the Federal Constitution because all Acts of Parliament must obey, or it must in line with what the provision in the Federal Constitution are telling you, and everything that the Federal Constitution all the provision in the federal constitution will lead you back to Malaysia Agreement 1963. Everything must be consistent. If it is not consistent, there is something wrong. If the Act of Parliament is not consistent with federal constitution, for example, Petroleum Development Act, it's not consistent with some provision in the federal constitution where about royalties. So that Act of Parliament, if there is some problem with that Act of Parliament, if the federal constitution is in some provision in the federal constitution that have been amended, for example, Article 1 that is not consistent with Malaysia Agreement 1963, said there is something wrong with federal constitution. So this is some of the framework that you can use to understand how you can become the expert in Malaysia Agreement 1963. Okay, now after you look at the Acts of Parliament, now you look at the ordinance. Ordinance is something that come from the state constitution. So we have a ordinance. Let me write it properly here. Ordinance. Ordinance is a bill that was passed by the state constitution of Sabah and Sarawak. We call it ordinance. So this ordinance is like we have Sarawak interpretation ordinance. We have Sarawak, what we call this, heritage ordinance. We have many ordinance. All of this ordinance and Act of Parliament you can download in the internet. You just write something and you can get it. So that is ordinance. So any ordinance is all the power that derive from the state constitution can only be implemented if there is a ordinance about it. So that is why that is very much important that our state constitution create as much as possible the ordinance based on the power that they have. Okay, that is the ordinance. So all our ordinance must consistent with state constitution, and it must also consistent with the federal constitution. It also must be consistent with federal constitution, and in the end it will lead you back to Malaysia Agreement 1963. So where the ordinance come from, it must also consistent with MA63. So you can see the relation there, the flow there. And for Federation of Malaya, they have all the states in the Federation of Malaya. They have, we call it not ordinance, that is before they become independent. After they become independent, we call that okay, they call it enactment. So all Johor, Kedah, Kelantan, all the law by the state of the Malaya, like Kelantan, Melaka, everything, they call it enactment. So that is enactment, but this rarely that we use. Actually, this is not very important in understand Malaysia Agreement 1963. So we have all this act, all this framework already. So now I want to show you what is in between all of this. I will change the color so that you can see. Maybe I will put it red. Okay, in between Malaysia Agreement 1963. First, before Malaysia Agreement 1963, there is federal constitution, right? So in between here, first we have Malaysia Act. Malaysia Act 1963, number 26. This is passed by the Parliament of Malaya. This is Malaysia Act 1963, number 26. So based on this Act of Parliament, the provision in the Malaysia Agreement 1963 has been inserted in the federal constitution. Okay, there is another act. We call it Malaysia Act Chapter 35. Chapter 35. So this Malaysia Act Chapter 35 is passed by the Parliament of the British, which transfer the sovereignty of Sabah and Sarawak to Malaysia. So Malaysia Act Chapter 35 is in between Malaysia Agreement 1963 and Federal Constitution, so that the Federal Constitution will have the force of law. So both of this act you can read in between Malaysia Agreement 1963 and Federal Constitution, which is a very important document as well. And then let's see what else. Okay, for Malaysia Agreement 1963 and State Constitution here, in between here there is Order in Council. Order in Council for the Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak, but I haven't found the original version for this one. But more or less, this Order in Council is written in Annex B, C, and D of the Malaysia Agreement 1963, which outlined the state constitution of Sabah and Sarawak. But this order in council is very important because it gives provision where the Queen give the force of law for the state constitution of Sabah and Sarawak, as states of Malaysia, which is outlined in the Article 3 of the Malaysia Agreement 1963. Now we have looked at how all this document relate to Malaysia Agreement 1963 after. Now we look at before. Now I change to yellow again. Before. What this document before Malaysia Agreement 1963 is very important so that you can understand the framer intention. The framer intention mean in Malaysia Agreement 1963 there is 96 section. All this section was inserted in the Malaysia Agreement for a reason. To understand what is the reason and the intention for all the specific information in Malaysia Agreement 1963, which also will be very important why it was inserted in the Federal Constitution. First, you look at the IGC report. Because this is the immediate document before Malaysia Agreement 1963. So IGC report, you can download a PDF in the online also. So this is based on the this is also international agreement signed by the Malaya, Sarawak, North Borneo, and the British. So this IGC report is very important. It is international agreement where all the provision in the IGC report has been inserted in the Malaysia Agreement 1963. So some of the provision is still not inserted in the Federal Constitution. So there is a lot of works where the provision in the IGC report must be complied so that it will be it will be eventually put into the Federal Constitution and State Constitution. So you must read at IGC report before you there is another document before IGC report which is also related with MA63 before MA63, which is COBOT Commission. So we look at COBOT Commission. So COBOT Commission will tell you a lot of things. It is also related with the MA63, and it is before IGC report is COBOT Commission. So COBOT Commission report is made in 1962. So it is a lot of the wishes of the people. The intention why certain terms have been incorporated in the Malaysia Agreement and some terms is not being incorporated in the Malaysia Agreement. You need to understand. You can understand by reading COBOT Commission. You can read a lot of wishes of the people. So if some amendment have been made in the Federal Constitution, if they made it against the wishes of the people, that amendment is not good for Sabah and Sarawak. So everything must be understood based on the framer intention, based on the wishes of the people in the past. So that we will not easily make any amendment that will be detrimental for the people. So if you change Federal Constitution without understanding the framer intention in IGC report and COBOT Commission, you are make a revolution in the Federal Constitution. We call it revolution. When you make a revolution, that means you are declaring a war with our forefather. So don't declare a war with our forefather. We must respect our forefather. And if we need any amendment, the amendment must be to improve our rights, not to completely different from the intention of the people in the past. So after we look at the COBOT Commission and IGC report and all IGC report, there is another document that you can look with is declassified document. So all this declassified document will tell you a lot of information, a lot of document that has been classified in the past, so that you can understand what is the historical perspective and very detailed information about IGC report, COBOT Commission, and MA63. Everything will be tell in the declassified document. Even the information that we don't know before, about my MA63, you can find it in the declassified document. The declassified document, you can find it in the British archive in Singapore. In Singapore, you just try to Google in Singapore. They always provide something in British. All this information about the formation of Malaysia. Other than the declassified document, it is declassified document is very big. It's massive. It's thousands of documents. So if you are lucky, you will find something very interesting information. And some declassified document is not yet being digitized. So you need to make, maybe I think you need to pay or something. There is some procedure there you need when you want to retrieve it from the queue in London or in Singapore. But the document is there. At least you know there is document is there. And another the same with declassified document is you look at the Hansard. So Hansard, what that you can check is Hansard from the British. This is from the British. Hansard from the British, Hansard from Malaysia, and Hansard from state. This is Sabah and Sarawak. So from the British, you can easily Google it. British Parliament, House of Commons. So you can see the Hansard, that how the British parliamentarian and the House of Commons and House of Commons and House of Lords discuss about the formation of Malaysia and all our rights and the historical way back into the when we are British colonies. The Hansard is there, so you can take the information. And from Malaysia, you also can get the information way back in even during the colonial time. Hansard in Malaysia from 1957, I think. But in other than that, the Hansard you can find from the declassified document also. The discussion is also there. So for Malaysia, you can check the Hansard for after the formation of Malaysia and before the formation of Malaysia, which is the Hansard of the Federation of Malaya. And the state constitution is a bit difficult. I don't know, our state constitution is a bit stupid. I can tell you, they are still stupid. They doesn't really make easily available to the people, the Hansard in the state constitution. It's there, but why they don't digitize it? They don't have technology to digitize all this information. I don't know. But state constitution, but for the state constitution, the Hansard that before the formation in Malaysia, formation of Malaysia, and immediately after the formation of Malaysia, you can, for Sarawak, you can check the Ho Achan or Ho Achun. This you can just Google it. You can find his work where he compiled the Hansard discussion in Sarawak. So this is you see all the framework here, and I try to highlight. And here is the Malaysia Agreement. Malaysia Agreement 1963. You can see before and after the document that you need to look at to understand Malaysia Agreement 1963. Now I want to see if I have missing something here. Okay, after we put all of this stuff, right, all of it together. Okay, I try to show you the big picture of it. So I make it something like this. Okay, okay. I try to draw it properly first. Let's see. I think you can get the gist of what I am telling you here. It's something like this. Okay, for the whole picture of it, you can look at the research journal and books. Any books that historical books or constitutional books and constitutional research journal, they will talk about a lot of this issue, specific issue, and they make a discussion. This is how you can see some of the people already make a research for you, so that you can easily understand what is the information that they talk about. So the research journal, if people who do a research, they understand. This is, you can find a research journal to on the constitution and the historical of the aspect of everything that is related to Malaysia Agreement 1963. So this is a basic framework, but I think there might be some improvement in this framework. I will tell you later. That is what I can think about right now. So try to if you want to become expert in Malaysia Agreement 1963, you can check any of this document before and after. What I tell you right now is there is after Malaysia Agreement. You can check it Malaysia Act 20. This purple color. You can check Malaysia Act number 26, Malaysia Act Chapter 35, and then we have Federal Constitution and Act of Parliament, and then you look at State Constitution, and after State Constitution you have Ordinance, and then Federation of Malaya Constitution, which you can find and try to analyze based on the Federal Constitution here. And then all the states of the Federation of Malaya, they make an enactment which is not really relevant with MA63 actually. And then before Malaysia Agreement, you look at the IGC report, and we have COBOT Commission, and then you can look at, to understand IGC report, COBOT Commission and MA63, you look at declassified document in British Archive and Singapore. I think in Brunei also there, but I haven't it's there, but I still not look at it very in detail. There is a Hansard, from the British House of Commons, House of Lords. Malaysia also, you can check the Hansard in Dewan Rakyat and Dewan Negara, and Order of Yang di-Pertuan Agong also there. And then you can look at the State Constitution of Sabah and Sarawak. And then for the whole picture, and you want to make further understanding, you can look at the research journal and books that has been written, not just by Malaysian. This research book, it can be by a lot of people over the world. There are some British people from maybe from Denmark or from Australia, from Sabah, from Malaya, from Brunei, from Singapore. They make a lot of research on all aspects of Malaysia Agreement 1963 or Federal Constitution. You can read this one, and there is a book also from historian, from politician, and so on. So this is how you can become expert in Malaysia Agreement 1963, and all the best for you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video, make the comment, and share it with your friend. Thank you for watching.